You're listening to the Vint Wine Podcast, where you'll hear interviews and stories from around the wine world. From writers and critics to winemakers and sommeliers, we'll explore the people and businesses who are instrumental in shaping wine culture. Enjoy the show. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of 5 Questions presented by the Vint Marketplace. In these interviews, we highlight world-class writers and critics, winemakers and sommeliers featured on our full-length episodes in a quick 5-question format. We hope you learn more about a new producer, what makes their wine special. Enjoy.
All right, we are here with 5 Questions with Marc Hochar. Thank you so much for joining today.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I'm very happy to be here.
Awesome. We'll dive right in. The first question is, where are your vineyards located and what varieties do you work with?
So we're located in Lebanon, in the Bekaa Valley. That's roughly a 1,000 meter altitude valley stuck between 2 mountains. We basically use varietals that are mostly French-based for the reds, Cinsaut, Cabernet, Syrah, and for the whites, we use mostly local varietals, 2 local varietals that have resisted to thousands and thousands of years of wine production, and not resisted, but actually been used for wine production probably since the Phoenicians, 6,000 years ago.
And Marc, if someone has never heard of Chateau Musar, what's maybe the first thing that you would want them to know?
Living. Life. These are wines that are alive. Basically, because we don't treat them, we don't add anything to them, a bit of sulfur, but that's the bare minimum. Otherwise, these are wines that have life and they express, I guess, they evolve over time, they age decades. You can't open a bottle and then just drink it in half an hour. They also evolve a lot in the glass. So if you really want to experience Musar, you have to take time. And time is what helps you discover what this is about, what our wines are about. And then you will see what life is in them because they have this ability to change all the time.
Yeah, you guys are what all the quote-unquote natural wines claim they want to be. You're a legitimate wine that's just made in a lower intervention way that ages for decades. The next question is, what are some regions outside of Lebanon that inspire you? It can be like interesting wines, styles, something you've learned.
Well, to be honest, when I'm looking to taste wines outside of Musar, I'm not looking for a particular flavor profile or a varietal. I tend to prefer wines that are a bit more elegant, so I tend to go more old world, to be honest. But what I'm looking for are wines that have this ability to change, to evolve. I don't like anything that's static. So if a wine, for me, maybe is first beautiful to drink, but doesn't always challenge me, surprise me, or bring something new as I go back to my glass every 5, 10, 15 minutes, and I'm always having the same experience, after 15 minutes, I get bored. So I need wines that have this ability to evolve. And this is what I'm looking for. And for this you can have in every region, every varietal. It's just, I want my wines to have this life that all of a sudden keeps me interested.
What are some vintages that have stood out to you for one reason or another? Maybe extremely high quality, extremely difficult, or some other reason, vintages that stood out?
Yeah, so I like some vintages more than others. We blend Cabernet and Cinsaut. Cabernet is very masculine, Cinsaut is very feminine, much more elegant. I tend to go more towards the Cinsaut dominant vintages in our lineup. But I tend to like our wines after 20 years because this is really when they start to show the earth components that start to kick in. And although I like fruit, I think that fruit is still probably the most basic expression of wine. And so I'm looking always for wines that have the ability to show me more than fruit. And that usually comes, at least with Musar, with age. And so anything beyond 20 years is interesting. Particular vintages, for me, 83, because that's the one where I really started, when I started drinking wines when I was younger. That's the first one that I really, really enjoyed. It was a bit riper than usual. But so it's a more personal, emotional experience that pushes me to one particular vintage, rather than necessarily something else. It's not based on taste, it's based on experience. And experience living with that vintage or experiencing something special with that vintage. And I think a lot of wines are like that. It's more an experience rather than just a pure taste.
Is there a vintage that's in the market right now in the US, one that maybe somebody should look out for?
To be honest, I love 98 now. 98 is a beautiful vintage. It's one of our vintages where Cabernet is less dominant. However, Cinsaut is more dominant. And as it's now 27 years old, it almost has features of a Burgundy wine. So very, very subtle, and yet still quite a bit of power. That's for me is a beautiful vintage. But anything from 03, 04, 03 and older for me is beautiful. The others are beautiful vintages, but in my opinion, still too young.
That makes sense. I've had a couple that were approaching 20 years, but nothing beyond. And it sounds like I haven't really experienced Musar yet.
I don't know. I'm sure you have. And I mean, the most interesting part, if you have the ability, is to taste, let's say, the current vintage, 7-year-old, taste the 15-year-old Musar, and then taste the 25. And then taste them in parallel, really at the same time. And that's how you eventually get Musar.
That sounds amazing. I will definitely do that. For our last question, looking forward, what is on the roadmap for Château Musar?
Well, continuation of the same in terms of philosophy of winemaking. So basically, no intervention. That's for sure. And then in terms of new wines, we've introduced another red not too long ago. So I don't think we'll introduce more. But I think what we will be doing is hopefully getting the next generation on board. As in where my brother, my cousin, myself, 3rd generation, 4th generation, at one point has to pick up the ball. And as we say, hopefully, yes, that's work that we're starting to get focused on.
Well, thank you so much. This has been 5 Questions with Marc Hochar.
Thank you. Thank you very much.